Let's move forward to something that came out on Sunday. It was Mel's top 10 quarterback prospects based off their pre-draft grade. So not how they turned out in the NFL, but how they were graded going into the draft ever. This is 43 drafts worth. And the entire list is on ESPN.com, available on ESPN Plus. Mel, we'll start at the top, though. I don't think a major surprise that you've got back-to-back Stanford quarterbacks with John Elway and Andrew Luck atop your lists.
Yeah, it was hard not to. I mean, the John Elway goes back to one of my all-time favorites. And people say, boy, just think with the Baltimore. Would Baltimore still have the Colts if John Elway would have remained with that organization and not been traded when Ernie Accorsi, the GM, had no participation in that trade? They traded him without Ernie's knowledge, and Ernie ended up leaving. The team moved, and I started with ESPN after I'd agreed to work with Ernie with the Colts. Everything would have been Todd. I wouldn't be here talking to you in field right now if things would have gone differently there. But because John Elway would have been a Colt, I'd have been in Baltimore. Who knows what would have happened? I might have had Super Bowl rings right now. Probably would have had a couple Super Bowl rings. But that's life, right? So again, you look.
You're doing all right, Mel.
Look at John Elway, what a great quarterback he was. And I think what was phenomenal and special about John, he had all the talent and he lived up to it. Normally guys have everything you would want in a quarterback. He had. And then to see him, even as a rookie, I was at Memorial Stadium when he played against the Baltimore Colts. He came back that rookie year. He couldn't, you talk about being in over his head. He had no idea. He got injured. Vernon Maxwell sacked him. He got an ankle injury, limped off. The Colts were winning the game. Denver couldn't move the ball with John Elway, a quarterback. He got an ankle, and Steve DeBerg came in and lit it up and led Denver back to a victory. That's how the struggles of John Elway as a rookie. That's why we got to be patient with quarterbacks. When I saw John Elway struggle, granted it was 1983, different era now, but to see him lead teams to Super Bowls that would have been outmanned without him, shouldn't even have been in the Super Bowl and lost. Then to see him win at the end of his career a couple Super Bowls, it's great to see a player that has all the gifts maximize it all once he got into the NFL. And for John Elway, everybody, he's kind of the prototypical quarterback is the way I would describe John Elway.
What was the Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf debate? I mean, in your mind, how did you see the two?
I barely, everything's there. I barely went with Manning over Leaf. I made that call. I had Leaf as one of my highest rated quarterbacks of all time. One of my top 10. He was right up there. And the thing was, it was hard with that debate because you have to go back to the real time then, not the revisionist history.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you think about it, if we would have been having that discussion, we have Peyton at Tennessee and he never beat Florida. Okay. And then you have Ryan, who developed Leaf late in his career. It seemed to show that summer before his final campaign, everything you needed, mentally, physically, he had it all. He carried that team. He was a guy, Washington State Cougars. I mean, he takes them Rose Bowl. He's taken them to the great heights with Mike Price as the head coach. So big, has it all. I compared to Roman Gabriel, I was a big LA Rams fan growing up with Roman Gabriel. Came out of NC State number 18. He would just shrug off defenders like they weren't even there. So it was a big debate. And I really believe, I don't know. I didn't poll the whole league, but the people I spoke to in the league, it was a 50-50 split when Leaf Manning. Only thing I take solace in, I did have Peyton over Ryan, but Ryan had one of my highest grades ever. So I blew it on that one. Bobby Beathard took him at 2. It was a bust. Peyton's a Hall of Famer. But
no, I was just curious because it's one of the great debates in the history of the draft.
Yeah, because Peyton didn't have the big-time arm, and Peyton didn't have the big-time athleticism. Right. Ryan Leaf was this big, strong-arm guy, could throw the ball 80 yards and won with a lesser personnel around him and all that. So, again, Peyton's funny because when he was here, I told you that story. He's talking about, they said I didn't have any upside. They said I was as good as I'm ever going to be, and I still had pimples on my chin. He said, I was like, really, guys? You're telling me I'm as good? I'm a kid. But I'm never going to get any better, So Peyton tells the story. It was interesting because, that year, I'll never forget that year, how close it was trying to decide which quarterback you like better. And guess what, guys? The quarterback you didn't like, you still had a super high grade on the other guy. So I hit it with one, I blew it with the other one.
Well, Peyton comes in at number 3 overall in your top 10 grades. And you mentioned that Ryan Leaf also makes this top 10, but not the top 5. And the reason why this conversation is relevant this year, Mel, is because Trevor Lawrence has cracked your list as well. Just a perspective on how special of a talent you think he is. He's your 4th highest rated quarterback of all time. So if this goes as planned, the Jaguars, as bad as this year was, and 15 straight losses is brutal, they could be the big winners of the NFL offseason.
Yeah, and I think the reason I put Trevor there is, well, I want to get Ryan Leaf moved down a little bit. I want to get Andre Ware moved down a little bit. You put them on the same grades, it slides them down a little bit. There's nothing to the madness.
Smart play, Kiper.
There's a little bit. No, seriously. You look at Trevor. I really think I was thinking, do you want to go so high where I couldn't go with the Elway spot? And I figured, okay, I thought that was a fair spot to put a guy in. And Todd, he has everything you want. He was number one coming out of high school with Justin Fields, a close second. Some thought 1 and 1A. He's done everything you wanted at Clemson. He didn't have 4 starters on the offensive line, or T. Higgins, or Justin Ross this year. So again, I look at Trevor Lawrence. Everything you want mentally and physically. I don't know if you agree. He seems to have.
Yeah, I mean, I do. What I don't know is I haven't sat in a room with him and gotten his football intelligence. I don't know how he processes. I'd like to see more throws over the middle of the field, but I have the second highest or the highest grade since 2012 with Andrew Luck. So I'm in complete agreement. And he's big, he's strong, he's got the arm, the mobility. And I told you, I've been on the field with him 9 times live, watching him, stalking him, as I said before, trying to figure out who he is. You want to know who a quarterback is, how they handle pressure, how they handle offensive linemen getting pissed at them, how they handle interceptions, how they handle touchdowns, all those sorts of things. And this guy is always level. I mean, his emotions never change. And I love that about him. I think that's really important at that position.
We've got just over 7 weeks until the NFL draft begins. And if you hear people try to undercut him at all, like just change the channel, listen to a different podcast, click a different article to read. Trevor, there's no guarantee because nothing is guaranteed from the draft into the NFL. But in terms of pre-draft process, I suspect that Trevor Lawrence will be graded almost universally as the top player on the board by a wide margin around the NFL. Just a note to Mel's top 5 rounded out with Jim Kelly, the great Jim Kelly, who, of course, played his college football at Miami. And you can find the entire column, as I mentioned, on .com right now. Number 6 through 10, Mel gave you a little preview there about some of the players that maybe didn't go as planned, but there also were 2 Super Bowl champs and 1 other active quarterback makes Mel's top 10 quarterback prospects based off pre-draft grades of all time. That's right. He is a quarterback, and it may not be who you think.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.